The Coonhound Collective podcast is brought to you by CZ Welding and Custom Dog Boxes. Dog boxes built by hunters for hunters. Check these guys out today. This is your host, Jason Snellgrove, and I will be your guide as we journey down the road to pleasure hunt or hitting the long trail to those great comp hunts. This is the Coonhound Collective podcast. Thank you for joining us today on the Coonhound Collective podcast. Today, I have what has been, after a weekend of autumn oaks, the talk of Facebook for sure, Tony Dominguez, and he was hunting a red bone named G-Man. I'm sure if you've been on Facebook, you've seen him. Tony, how's it going tonight?
Pretty good, Jason. How are you?
Man, I can't complain. We just got back from a volleyball game. Girls knocked it out of the park and shut them out. So it was a good deal, and I'm excited to have you on here. Like I said, you were the talk of Facebook, and I had kind of been hunting a red bone guy to have on here. And whenever I messaged you and you were game to do it, boy, I've been excited to get you on here and let's talk about some red bone hounds. So before we get into G-Man, let's tell everybody a little bit about yourself, kind of where you're from and kind of what you do.
Well, I was actually looking real forward to doing this because, I mean, I guess all the other guys, they do a lot of the walker guys, and I really wanted the spotlight to be on the red bones, not for me, just for the breed, you know. And I'm 28. I'll be 29 at the end of the month. I run my own concrete business, and that's kind of been my whole family's thing since before I was born. And I got into red bones. I think I was 10 years old when we got the first ones, which it all started like any other person with a red bone. They started watching where the red fern grows, and my grandpa had been a avid duck hunter his whole life, and he's probably more of the reason why I stuck with the red bones, because we always, when we got those, they were kind of showbred dogs, and they didn't make it. And he said, we caught heck from everybody. I mean, all red bones, they're not no good, blah, blah, blah. So we went on a venture to look for what it was going to take to beat these guys around the house. And he found some older dogs from up in Missouri, from Spencer Glisson. And it's kind of just started there, and they just happen to be outlaw dogs. And that's my love for the outlaw dogs has been that way for ever since 2004 when we got them, and we've had a blast with them ever since then.
So in your coon hunting, you mentioned there starting with red bones. So you started with red bones, and you haven't wavered any at all. You've always had red bones, or have you hunted any other breeds?
No, I went through a stage in high school that I felt like I thought I was going to make a living coon hunting, and that was a huge wake up when probably 5 or 6 years ago, I ran the roads hard, and I've got some really good friends that do it for a living, Michael Ward and Dustin Weed, and I've learned a lot from them guys, you know, just traveling. We all traveled together for a couple years, but I want to stay home and work and start a family, and so I've started off, you know, with red bones until my grandpa he got cancer and passed, and the dogs we had kind of passed, and so I kind of started hunting for other guys and running the roads, and I was hunting walkers and different breeds, and I ended up I guess it was right out of high school that I met Shane, you know, Shane Maxey, and I could see he was winning back and picking up with the dogs that were bred up, you know, just like the dogs that I'd hunted, and I thought all that was kind of gone. Well, I started keeping up with him, and I wanted a pup, and every time I'd want a pup off a cross he made, and it would just it was like he said, "Oh, I got one in mind for you," and it'd be 6 months, 8 months later, he'd post another ad on pups, and I want one of those. And I got one in mind for you. About 2 years later is when he sent me a pedigree and said, "Hey, can you come to Cuba, Missouri, Redbone Days?" I said, I'm pretty busy. I don't know if I can make it. And he sent me the pedigree on G, and I told him, I said, "I think I can make it. You got one for me?" And that's where it all started back again. So yeah, I hunted up off-breed, what I call off-breed dogs, but walkers and different things. And once I got G, I kind of got back into the red bones again.
Yeah. Well, before we get to G Man, and that's how I found out about you was from G Man. But before we get to him, let's talk about some of those years where, coming up and with you and your grandfather, and then whenever you were on the road, let's talk about some of that stuff and some of the stuff that you learned to do, and some of the stuff you learned that you don't want to do.
Yeah, yeah. Well, my grandpa, he was always one of those guys that were just, he always wanted everything done right. Even if you're in a hunt, he didn't want anything bad to come about from his name, and so I had a reputation to hold, and I veered off just like any teenager, and sometimes I wanted to win more than my dog wanted to, and it kind of set me back for a little while. I really enjoyed running the road, and when I was, before I got to getting in with the guys that I did with dogs, I knew what could win locally, but I had no clue what it took to win big like I thought I did. I would go stay with Dustin for a month or two at a time, and in that amount of time, me, him, and Jeff McCord would hunt from dark to daylight for weeks at a time. And you'd have to take 2 or 3 dogs down there just to not wear one slap out. And that's where I got better. I felt as a handler being around those guys, learning to prepare to win at a bigger level. We hunted really, really hard, and just watching, being around them, I learned what it took to win and how to prepare a dog to win. From what I've seen and been around, I don't know, it's different than in high school and pro,
Yeah.
even with sports.
Well, and I interviewed Lane Denny, and that's one thing he was talking about. When you get ready, you get a kid playing basketball or football or baseball, and they go to these camps, and they spend time out there getting themselves prepared, and it's no different with our hounds. And I just don't think people understand people like Dustin Weed, Michael Ward, and Scott Engel, and yourself, and the amount of hours that is put in, out in the woods, getting that dog ready and getting yourself ready. It's a lot more to it than just going out there hunting a couple times a week.
Oh, for sure. And I've slacked off weight a whole lot since then. Used to, I think I've wore 4 pickup trucks out since I've had G, and 3 of them were the first 5 or 6 years of his life, and I had guys, luckily I could send him to up north with Shane, or Jesse Bowley. We had him in Michigan, several guys like in Ohio, and then Keith Bolin had him in Indiana for a little bit. And then, it's good to have a team to where you can move a dog around through the country. Adam Ringler and Carolina, he kept him for a while, and just to kind of move them around to where they can learn how to treat coons in different terrain, different climates, different areas. And that's a major part, I think, because as a handler, we're going to train to win where we live. You know, these southern dogs, people can say, oh man, the northern people, they talk about how dogs up there operate, and the southern guys talk about how you got to go hunt and tree a coon. Well, up north, you've got to tree 5 or 6 consistently, drop after drop after drop. Where down here, a dog gets used to treeing 1 or 2 in 2 hours, looks great. And I've learned a lot about hunting with these different guys on what you want in a dog. And I feel like if a dog can win in northern Michigan and then turn around and haul them to North Carolina, and they can go win in the mountains and then bring them down here to the swamps, that dog has a knack for the ability that most don't, because lack of preparation.
Yeah, and you're giving that dog every opportunity to go out there and perform in all those different conditions, and then that way, whenever you do load them up in the truck and you drive to Autumn Oats or the Winter Classic or a PKC hunt somewhere, they're prepared for all those different terrains.
Yeah, for sure, and it's like with Autumn Oaks, you got to have a big score, and it's about getting a good guide, but you don't know if you're going to go 3 hours north and hunt in Michigan or 2 hours south and hunt southern Indiana, and the dog, like for me, it's 14 hours from my house to Richmond, and it's a whole different ball game from my house to there. And it takes a dog that can take that kind of, loading them up, as young dogs, even like when G was a pup, I hauled him everywhere with me. Even when I was running the walkers, he would be 3 or 4 months old in the dog box 10 hours from the house. And if they can't take hauling and they can't eat on the road, you're not going to ever be successful with them, period.
Yeah, that's for sure.
I've seen a lot of dogs, a lot of big winning dogs that would win a big hunt or two, and you put them on the road and really get to running them, and they just fall apart. They don't eat, they don't travel, and if you can't eat and they don't travel, they're not gonna. You're just wasting your time and entries and money and everything.
Yeah, that's for sure. Well, we're going to get into what got you to that final cast of Autumn Oats this year, but before we get that far along, let's talk about you got G. You said you were what did you say, 19, 20 years old, somewhere in there?
Yeah, I think I was around 19 or 20 because he's 9.5. So yeah, I was 19 when I got him. So we went to Cuba, and Shane had a whole litter of pups, beautiful pups. Me and my brother went up there, and I don't know, it was kind of crazy for 2 teenagers to drive 9 hours. We had a blowout in the middle of the mountains in Arkansas at 3 o'clock in the morning. Had no help. Luckily, a police officer got us to the tire shop the next morning and changed. We get up there, and Shane, we turned them loose, and I think there was eight pups in the litter he turned out of his box, and they were beautiful. He said, you get here, you can pick out any of them. So the first one was a big, beautiful black muzzled pup, and I said, I want that. And he said, well, you can pick them all, but that one, I'm thinking, come on, man, you've made me wait for 2 years. And so G was over playing by himself probably 30 or 40 yards across the field, and I told him, I said, man, I want that one. And he said, yeah, you can have that one. And so we come back home, and I couldn't have been no happier because it was after my grandpa had passed, and I don't believe you could make a redbone pedigree look there's no way possible to make one look as nice as his, as far as, he's a 4-generation all grand pedigree, and I've hunted a lot of the dogs that he was out of, or hunted with dogs off of them. And every dog in his there's 30 Grand Nights behind him, and that every one of them has either won Redbone days, Purina races, Redbone Park, top 100 of the world, Autumn Oaks. I mean, there's been every dog in his pedigree has won something that had prestige to it. And I knew that if I got him, it was going to be my turn if I put the work in to make him what he could be, I knew, if I didn't put the work in, he'd probably be just another cull in the breed. So it worked out.
Yeah. So what was some of those dogs that's in his pedigree?
Well, his daddy was Outlaw Jesse James Jr., which Spencer Glisson has raised him, and a couple of buddies of mine, Josh and Travis Sturkis, Josh hunted him a lot and got him in the top 100 of the world, and he was off of Jesse James, which was Alton Key's dog, and he later sold to Spencer. And Wright's little girl too was his mama, which Mike Wright's a good friend of mine, and he used to hunt for my grandpa, and we got really close, and he done a lot of winning. Well, the outlaw dogs, they've been pretty well line bred, Burning Ben and Timber Girl and Burning Ben and Jesse. Keys Outlaw Jesse, and my partner actually that's on with G-Man, he actually owned the Don's Timberjack dog that produced Timber Girl. And actually, Alan, he's been a big part of what G-Man's become and helping me push him and all of that. And then on G's mama's side, she's a Grand Night female named Outlaw Billy Jean, which was also my other partner, Shane, his Billy the Kid dog. And so we've all, had a part of this bloodline for a very long time, probably going all the way back to Roger Gibson hunting Famous Amos, which won the Purina race for Roger Shable, And when Shane made the cross on Billy Jean, he actually got the semen. Spencer had sold it to Roger Shable, and this was the last breeding on Jesse James Jr. that there was. And they bred to Billy Jean to get G-Man. So it was kind of a if it don't work, there won't be no more.
Yeah. So, okay, you made a run to Missouri. You got G-Man as a puppy. You get him back to Texas. You've hauled him kind of up and down the road with you as you're handling these other dogs. Let's talk about 4, 5, 6 months old, and you're getting ready to get him started there and kind of get him going. What was he doing? How was he operating? That type of thing. Hey guys, this is Jason over at the Coonhound Collective podcast. Is your dog box starting to get wore? Maybe it's starting to get a little cracked like mine is. Maybe you've just been thinking about it's time to upgrade to a new box, but you've asked your buddies and you're just not real sure what direction to go in. Well, let me help you out here. Go check my friends out at CZ Welding and Fabrication, custom dog boxes and aluminum products on Facebook. You can check out all their custom work they do there and their designs that they do. If you don't see something that you don't exactly like there, reach out to Nathan at 540-810-5439, 540-810-5439, or send him a message through the Facebook page. I bet he can fix you up. Don't wait till fall to get that new dog box. Go ahead, get that dog box now. Get you something looking good in the back of your truck that you can be proud of and that you can haul your dog around in comfort. Check my friends out at CZ Welding and Fabrication. You won't go wrong. Dog boxes built by hunters for hunters. Get yours today. CZ Welding and Fabrication.
Well, he was always super smart. I mean, he seemed like he had the brain of a human sometimes, and it's weird to say that, but the dog doesn't need a leash. I mean, I can tell him to go get in my truck, and he'll go find my truck and get into it. You know, he's later. He's kind of lazy in the day. He's been that way since he was a pup. He loved the water, and I made a mistake with him as a pup that actually caused a lot of ongoing problems throughout his life. I put him in a coon pen, and when I got him out of the coon pen, he would swim the ocean to cover a dog, and he would tree with them and didn't have any clue what he was treeing on. You could shoot a coon out and he wouldn't pay it no attention. Like, he had no clue about it. And so I just started hunting with my older female, a walker female I was hunting, named Blindside. And one night out, we were hunting him out of the boat, and he treed a coon ahead of her. Not one that we saw. It was just a wild coon. And I drove the boat around and ran in there and tied him up. And once I shot that coon out, it was like a light switch went off. And, you know, I started just singling him out, and he would strike tracks and just drive them in there. And when he'd locate, he'd quit and come back to me like he didn't know how to tree. So I would take him and walk him back in there and get him treeing and knock him out, not let him have them. And then he got to where he was sticking trees. I started knocking them out. I would knock, and that's probably where I went overboard with it. I would shoot 5 or 6 a night, and I fed him a lot of coons, and he started a few problems of shutting up, you know, when you'd get close. And I mean, there was small things that I had to work out with him, but it was just being an excited teenager about a 8 or 9 month old pup treeing coons like that, you know. And I guarantee at one time I fed the buzzards real good at Lake of the Pines.
Well,
Yeah.
I think as young people, we've all been guilty of that. I know I've had some young dogs back in the past where I probably fed too many coons to them, and you know, probably got them grabbing trees a little too much. But you know, that's part of it. That's how you learn, especially if you don't have a mentor, you know, right there with you, helping you every step of the way, and you kind of having to figure some stuff out on your own. That's just part of it.
Yeah, and another thing is I was bullheaded too. I couldn't be told one thing or another. You know, I felt like that was doing him good, so I was doing it, and I learned, you know, just from the trial and error. You know, I'll always tell everybody he was my trial and error dog. I loved the hunt. You know, at that time I was, you know, 20, 21 years old, and I felt like I had to be at a hunt every weekend and through the week too. And that's not how you make a young dog, you know. And luckily I wasn't hunting him, but I didn't really, like I said, I didn't really know what it took to win at a big level at that time. I was coon hunting and running these hunts for other guys, but finally, you know, I started learning from my mistakes with him, and he was kind of the practice dummy.
Okay, so you're still running the hunts for other guys and stuff. At what point do you make the decision of, okay, I'm not gonna hunt dogs for somebody else. I'm gonna focus on G-Man. I'm gonna put him in these hunts, and I'm gonna run my own dog. Did you have him at a certain point that you felt confident that you could compete with him at that level, or was there other circumstances that led to that?
Well, he went. I put him in a few hunts here and there, and I actually got in some trouble with UKC, and it was just from being a kid, you know. And I had to take some time off, and when I got reinstated, he first hunt I put him in, I went to Oklahoma. I was actually working on a pipeline up there, and I put a first on him, and I come back home and tried to hunt him in some hunts, and I just couldn't get it done. And I was getting frustrated, and Shane told me, Tony, just let me bring him up here, put a kill season on him, and I'll try to get his last 2 wins, and that way when you get him back, you can try to work on grinding him. You know, he'll be a little bit older and mature. Well, I said, okay. So I sent him up there, and Shane had coon hunted him, and I guess it was probably 2 months or 3, something like that, and he was just getting him ready for kill season, just to have something young to mess with. Well, he wanted to put him. He told me, he said, "Look, I want to put him in a hunt just to see what he needs work on." And he went 2 hunts, you know, just boom, boom. When he finished, I guess being young and naive, I wanted him back. And Shane said, "Tony, don't. I'm scared you're gonna run him if you go to putting him in these hunts." And so I got it. I said, "No, I want him back. I want him back." So I pushed it and got him back. And we did some coon hunting after that, and he took off and started winning more, you know. But where I got frustrated at hunting other people's dogs is just being on the road. You know, you think you're making good money, and these guys are some guys don't want to pay good, or you know, you do a good job for one, and I've hunted for some good people, and I've hunted for bad. You know, everybody has if they've done it long enough. But you get to hunt and you make a dog you really like, and then they turn around and sell it for, you know, buy it for nothing and sell it for a lot, and then you're stuck with no dog and having to make another one. And after I night champion G, or Shane night champion G, I brought him home and went to coon hunting him, and man, he's really coming on strong. And at that time, I didn't have the finances to hunt my own dog. I mean, I could locally, but you know, I grew up poor my whole life, and I'll probably die poor. I got some good offers on him, and my mom told me, you know, she said, "Tony, if you sell this dog, that money's going to be gone, that dog's going to be gone, and you're just going to, you know, you're going to be starting over. You probably won't ever get one like him again." And so I took her word, and I turned down a very, very huge offer by 2 different guys. And I was telling Shane, I said, "Man, I don't know what to do. I got a good young dog, as I feel like any in the country, and I don't have the finances. You know, I don't know what to do." And he found, you know, Alan. I had not even talked to Alan at all. I didn't even know who Alan was, besides he owned Don's Timberjack, which was a huge winning dog in the, I guess, the late 80s, early 90s. And I've always been a fan of the dog. My grandpa was too. And he hooked me up with him. And so Shane somehow gets Alan talked in, that this guy that's living in California, that's a golfer and a veterinarian, talked in to partner with me on this dog. So we get in a group chat, and before it's over, Shane and him both has done bought half the dog, and we're 3-way partners on him. And at this point, they're going to make it possible where we can go run and do whatever we want to if the dog's ready. And that's kind of how that partnership started. And it's changed a few times. Me and Alan, we've bumped heads, and I mean, I look at him more like an older brother now than a partner. And don't get me wrong, we've sure enough butted heads, but he feels like now that he can trust me, and he knows I know what's best for our dogs, and there's not a dog that's in our kennel that we're not partnered on.
Yeah, and you know, just the everyday person, you know, they like you and me, you know, we don't have the money to run up and down the road and chase some of these big hunts, but man, how important and how valuable is it to have partners like that to be able to help you out, and you know, be able to partner with you on these different dogs, and G-Man, and help you be able to run up and down the road and get his name out there, and get, you know, be able to run him in some of these hunts.
Yeah. Well, the main thing and I've sat down with Alan and talked before too. I see so many of these guys that they try so hard to make a living out of this, and they want a backer, want this guy to back them and buy their dog and this and that. And I told Alan, before I run a friendship with him, we'll sell the dog or whatever. I'll give him his money back, or he can give me my money back. I'll ship him to California. But an animal is not worth a true friendship, you know. And he has been my right hand partner, and will always be. I don't care if there's been dogs that he didn't want no part of that I bought, and he would laugh about it, and he would still be my partner on it, you know. And he'll tell me, Dominguez, what are you doing this for? And then, you know, we've been in some situations, some good and bad situations with that, you know. But it's always he's never he might bitch and complain from time to time about something, but he's always kind of let me have the reins on whatever we needed. And I can't thank him enough as a partner and a friend, you know, for what he's done. You know, my mom passed away, I guess it would be 7 or 8 years ago, and Alan, he come up with a lot of money for funeral expenses, you know, that I didn't have. And he's just been, you know, he's been A1 to me from day one. You know, he's been a good partner, and I could never replace him as a partner. I wouldn't even try to, you know. And Shane, he's the same way. There's never been nothing that I've ever needed that he had that I couldn't get, and vice versa, you know. And it's crazy how one dog can bring guys in like that as friends to partners, and still be, you know, going strong as a dog that's 9 years old, you know.
Yeah, for sure, and that's pretty awesome. It's good to have people like that in your corner for sure. So okay, where you've got G-Man, you've got your partners, and you're running up and down the road. What was you're working on granding him out? So what other goals was you working on there with him?
Well, you know, it started out, I wanted to get him granded before he was 2. And I had 4 wins towards grand on him, and I won, I think it was 6 or 7 out of maybe 10 night champion casts that I put him in to try to get his last one, and I couldn't get it done. I mean, I was running all over the place. I'd win with 3, like one, had double cast wins at the Texas State hunt that would have finished him, and I would come in with like 362 and a half one night. I think it was Friday night. Somebody, a friend of mine actually, Joe Manning, he come in with 363 and a third, and it knocked me out. I was like, man, I'm never gonna get it done. Well, a week before he turned 2, my mom passed away, and we had a hunt here in Sulphur Springs, and a friend of mine, Preston Bowles, which him and his son are super good to me. Preston said, hey, I'll take him to that hunt. And he ended up finishing that night. And I wish I could have been behind him, but it meant a lot to me for my friends to come through when I needed them to get it done. And he didn't finish it 2 years. He finished it 2 years and 1 week. It was a crazy thing, but, you know, I couldn't have been more happy for the dog.
Yeah, and again, that just shows the support that you know, people look at coon hunters and think, yeah, that's just a bunch of rednecks out there doing stuff at dark, and who knows what they're out there doing. But you know, just in this story and hundreds of other stories that I've heard of how, you know, in a time of need, coon hunters come together to help their friends out, and maybe sometimes not even their friends. Maybe they just come together because it's another coon hunter. It's just like a brotherhood.
Yep. My fiance, she's the number one. When we first started dating, she had no clue what a coon dog or a rooster was. She was poor thing. I tried taking her coon hunting. She had one night of that. She said, "You can have it, and I know you're not doing nothing behind my back." Because I would come in late at night, and she'd think I was out running around. And after I took her one night, I ever think about coon hunting now I can get her to go to the hunts with me and ride. But as far as putting on boots and a light, she said that's not for me. And she's actually the one that takes care of all the dogs now. She'll wash the kennels 2 or 3 times a day. Get every month they're on their Simparica Trio. She's got it written down. She's got everything written down on what's done to the dogs every month. I mean, if it wasn't for her, I don't know that I could even do what I've done, And that's when I kind of went to where I am now. So I slowed down on the hunting a lot, but I want to get more into the breeding side instead of the running all the hunt. I feel like G has made his mark, and I've actually, I've studied him since he was a 2-year-old, and he had a lot of health problems in the last year, which was a crazy cause, and so I kind of wanted to slow down and start back over hunting some young dogs off of him and get more into breeding, because Shane, he's getting ready to retire, and he's kind of wanting to slow down on the breeding, and I don't want to ever lose this line of dogs. They've been good to me, on and off since 2004, and I feel like it's my time to step up and do, make the crosses to carry on the line. And when I told Alan that, he just kind of shook his head and told me I was crazy that he wanted to stick with winning coon hunts. I said, well, we can do that, but I want to buy Shane. Shane sold me the last 3 Grand Night females he had, which I've bred 2 of them to G, and they are throwing super nice pups. And I just didn't. When Shane kind of ran it across to me, he said, "Look, I don't want to sell these females to anybody, but I just, it's time for me to kind of slow down until I retire." And I'm wore out from making, raising pups the last, 8 or 10 years. And so now I feel like that I went and got the best females that I could possibly buy in our kennel right now. I mean, there's some good ones out there in the redbone breed, I've always said it. If G was a female, if G would have been a female, I would have never had a G man. It'd have been a G girl or something else, because I'm a female guy. I like hunting females, and when you got a good female, you can go breed to whatever you want. Anything you want. You don't have to sit here and beg and kiss guys, rears to breed to their females. And if you're going to have a stud dog, you just better bite the bullet and do it, because that's what it takes to breed them sometimes.
Yeah, a couple of things there that you touched on about your fiance taking care of, or she may be your wife now, taking care of the dogs and washing the kennels and taking care of it. Man, that's so important to have somebody around that you can do that. I know just here a couple of weeks ago, I had to go back to Alabama. That's where I'm from originally. I live in Missouri now, and had to be gone for a week. And man, I've got 2 young kids here at the house. I say young. One's fixing to be 17 this coming weekend, and one's 14. But they just stepped right in. They made sure the dogs was fed, the chickens was fed, and stuff was took care of here at home. When even though I wasn't on the road coon hunting, I was on the road taking care of other business. And it's just so important to have somebody like that around that can step in. And I know sounds like you're very appreciative of that, and I know I am for sure. And I know there's a lot of guys out there that are, very appreciative to have those people around to help them take care of those dogs. And you touched on G-Man being sick. So bring us from where we were at up to him being sick, and kind of go into what was going on there.
Are you looking for a hound that is producing winning puppies? One that is throwing proven winners? Then look no further than Grand Night Champion, Silver Champion Stylish Bushwhacker. His pups have earned $450,000 in PKC and $80,000 in Pro Sport. He is a PKC Super Stake and UKC Performance Sire and number 3 on UKC Current Reproducer List. He is throwing hard-going, hard treeing, get in there, get it done tree dogs. If interested in breeding to Bushwhacker, contact Justin Davenport on Facebook or at 954-614-8138. Bushwhacker is located in Fredericksburg in chilled or live breeding.
Well, I'm thinking it was last year at Automotive. It is when it started, or when I noticed it started. I'd actually drew Trent Livingston, the same guy that I drew in the top 16 hunting the nice black pup. He was hunting an older black and tan male that year. And you talk about sportsmanship. Those guys that night, they did everything they could to help me. I think I'd had 2 coons treat at that time, and third treat, G strikes, and he don't bark much on the ground, but he struck for, I think it was 100, and I mean, they're driving this track across this cornfield, and about the time he located and shut up, and I never heard him again, they boom, boom, boom tree, and I'm thinking, man, I've got a tree for 25 at least to protect my strike. And so I treat right at the end of tree time. We go in here and he's prolapsed. And he's just sitting at the tree prolapsed. Well, these guys are, I have no clue what's going on. I'm trying to FaceTime Alan in the middle of the hunt. We score the tree. They call time. It goes back in, and I get over to Alan. I said, man, I don't know what is wrong with this dog, but I don't understand what's going on. He said, if he prolapses, he said, keep hunting him. He said, if he prolapses again, you withdraw him and go to Ohio State right now. I said, okay. I said, I don't have a clue what's going on. Well, this was an ongoing thing up until 4 or 5 months ago, and it just got worse and worse and worse. So we took him to several specialists. I took him to Dr. O'Hanlon, which I feel like he's probably the sharpest artificial insemination vet in the country. He told me it was enlarged prostate. A couple of local vets that I use and trust, they couldn't find nothing wrong with him. Blood work after blood work. And so we get to running the breed race. I'm $2,200 behind. And I make a post joking on Facebook, I'm going to win the breed race. And all these guys go to betting me. And there was like 6 or 8 months left. I think it was 6 months left in it. And I might have had $200 won. And my friend Chris Collins is leading it. I feel like he's a good friend of mine, and he has a really good dog. But he had a baby born at the time, and he took some time off. Well, I jumped on the road, and this dog is still prolapsing, and I don't have a clue what's wrong. Well, after the race, I ended up winning the race by about 700. I don't remember exactly what I had. I think I won it by maybe $400 or so by the time it was over. It was a long, hard race, and I I enjoyed it at the time, but looking back on it, it was pretty stupid. You know, I about killed my dog, and I told myself if he quits on me, I'll quit with him. You know, but he never failed. When I turned him loose, he was gone. You know, and it got bad twice to where he prolapsed and it wouldn't go back in, and it ended up costing $2,500 each surgery to put it back in. And so finally, the last time I scheduled an appointment with Texas A&M, and within 10 minutes, boom, they had what it was. It was a bacteria from a freshwater snail. And I was watching one of the podcasts, you know, with the wipeout dogs, and that's what had killed Zeb, but it killed him like the next day. And I don't understand how it happened, but you know, when we got to Texas A&M, Lauren, she was talking about putting him down and how, oh, he's just, you know, it's hurting him, and so when we go down there, I'm tore up about it, but I'm not. I don't want nobody seeing me cry, you know. And when they told us that he had a big tumor in his intestines from this bacteria that was eating his intestines away, and I get to look, and the veterinarian woman, she's running around trying to find Kleenex. I'm thinking something's wrong with the dog, and Lauren is sitting there she's fixing to squall her eyes out. And so I told her, I said, we get this fixed. I said, I don't ever want to hear you talk about putting this dog down again. And needless to say, we spent an arm and a leg, and it ended up being $6,500 there. So we spent over $12,000 saving him and getting him better. And that goes back to the partnership deal. Alan, you know, I wanted to retire him and send him to California, and Alan told me, nope, we've all had to bury a dog. It's your turn. When he passes, he's going to be at your house. And so he was behind me. He if it wasn't for him, the dog wouldn't probably be alive, because I couldn't financially myself afford to dump that kind of money on a dog, period. You know, and he was behind me 100% on saving him. And I'm glad he did, because I mean that dog's like my best friend. I mean he listens to me like a human, and now he come out of that surgery 4 months ago, and I've got the best in-laws that I could possibly ever have. They've kept him at their house, give him medicine, and I said, well, he's ready. You know, start back hunting him if you want to. And I go over there. I'm so busy with work, I don't get to go over there every day. But I go over there, and they have him probably 30 pounds overweight. And he just looks at me like, man, you're here to get me? And so I pick him up, and he did not want to go with me. That's his retirement home. I mean, he's treated like their own kid over there. And I kind of had to cut his feed way, way down and start exercising just to kind of even get him in shape. But up until Autumn Oaks, I don't think he had been hunted, but like maybe 4 or 5 times I've carried him to a hunt or two just to get him out, you know. And I feel like this was the least I had ever prepared for a hunt. And if it wasn't for me getting those females from Shane, I probably wouldn't even went with him, at least, you know. And but that's kind of where we was at with his health. And luckily, you know, he's still here alive. We got it fixed, and he's back to acting like a 2-year-old pup again, unless I hunt him pretty hard.
Yeah. Well, and we're fixing to dive into Autumn Oaks and leading up to that final cast, but before we hit record here, you were telling me in some of the other kennel clubs what all G-Man had won money wise and stuff like that. Go through that real quick, and then we'll jump into Autumn Oaks.
Well, I had really good luck with him in CHKC before they closed down. I want to say he won between 15 and 20,000 in that kennel club. He was the first redbone to ever win an elite shootout. which I think it paid $4,800 that night. And he done a lot of winning. He won the breed race a couple times, won the breed hunt, got moved to the quarterfinals of the world hunt a couple times. Then moving into PKC, I really didn't do much with him when he was really, really young. I got his money won for the Super Stakes, and the first year I hunted him in, it was his 2-year-old year, and he had a horrible birthday. He's like maybe 10 days away from being a really good spring birthday, if that tells you how honest Shane is, because I know a lot of people that probably would have held the birth dates back and just sent him off as a spring, pup, and he'd have had a great birthday. So if I was hunting him in the 2-year-old division, it's more like hunting him against 3-year-olds, That was a huge disadvantage. But in his 2-year-old year, I could not buy a cast win. I don't believe he treated for anything under 100 all week long, and I could not win a cast. Leading into his 3-year-old year, I'd made him a PKC champion just hunting around here, and, like I'd go to Little Dixie and stuff like that. And I ended up getting him. That year was probably the greatest year that we had with him. We'd just won National Grand Night Champion at Autumn Oaks. He looked really good that weekend, the redbone part. I went to Little Dixie, drew a world champion, had good luck up there, won my cast, missed out on a couple Final Fours. Then we went to the Super Stakes. The first night I doubled up, and I ended up getting in the Final Four that year and got second reserve. And then following month, I went back for the World Hunt and got him in at the World Hunt, the PKC World Hunt. So he won. By the time he was 3, I think I had a little over 11-5 won with him. And we kind of took some years off. I got burnt slap out because I was running the Cali female that Alan had bought from Brian Layton. And, man, we had a really, really good year with her. We won. We actually blew the state race and the breed race completely out of sight. Won a pro hunt, won a bunch of stuff with her. I think we had 18,000 won with her, and here G is in the prime of his life, and I'm burnt out. We have ran all over the country with her, and so I needed some time off. I sent him, out and to Shane and Jesse, and then Adam got him, and just we kind of moved him around just to get him, just do some more coon hunting with him. And Keith Boland, he got him and kept him for a little while after Shane had him up there, just kind of letting him relax. And Keith said, "Man, Toadie's getting old. I want something to hunt." Well, Toadie come in heat, and she's one of her and the Brianna female Shane on, in my opinion, they have been the best reproducing females the breed has probably ever seen since Moonlight Kate. And, which most of our dogs go back to Kate. Well, Keith started hunting him, and he had some problems, I guess, just being rusty, And Keith hunted him really hard and got him, through I guess he was 4 or so, 5, and Keith really, really got to doing some hard hunting on him, and he's a lot of the reason he's finished out the way he did, because that dog in the prime of his life, that was perfect. He wasn't running the road. He wasn't getting wore out from the miles being on the road. At that time, he was getting coon hunted, And when I got him back, we went right on the road. I finished in the Platinum Champion, got him in at a few big pro classics, got him in at the Lone Star Pro Classic at Lone Star 5000. We hunted it off, and a friend of mine, I had to be at somewhere that Saturday morning, And so Ryan Croson took him that night now and said, "Man, what are you doing? Why, we spent this amount of money on entry fee." I said, "Dude, if this guy can't win with him, I sure the heck can't win with him." And he ended up getting second that night. And I picked him back up, and we went to Oklahoma. I got him in up there at Quapaw, which that's, to me, the best coon hunt in the world. He operates up there. And we kind of just went on a good run. And, then leading up to the breed race in PKC, I felt like I did something I probably would never be able to do again. Coming from a $2,200 lead to leading the breed race and winning it, it was a wake up for a lot of guys that doubted him, and I'm not one to brag. I mean, if a dog's good enough, an owner shouldn't have to brag. They'll brag on themselves in these hunts, and I've heard it from a lot of people that say, Cream always rises to the top, and he's always been my go-to. If I ever felt like I could win anything with a red bone, it would be him. It seemed like don't matter what position I put him in, he's always going to try to find a way to please me, and we've always been on the same page.
Yeah. Well, you definitely done some winning there with him, and it's you pull up at a hunt there, and there's nothing wrong with walker dogs. I had one here not long ago here at the house, and there's a lot of them out there, and there's a lot of them winning. It's something about when you see a different color dog than a walker dog winning that really makes you kind of your ears perk up and kind of take a second look at it. And I'm sure that's what was going on with you and G-Man during that time for sure.
Well, I've never been guilty of it, but I know a lot of redbone guys want to compare when they go to these hunts. There's 100 walkers to one redbone. No, when you're in a cast, there's one redbone against whoever you draw. I'm not going to let another redbone beat me just because he's in my cast. If I'm there to hunt, I'm there to win, and I'm there to hunt and beat whoever I draw. I don't care if it's Alan, Shane. I mean, some of the best, hardest hunts I've ever had to compete in, my partner Shane's there with another dog in a final cast trying to beat me with a dog that he co-owns, and that's the kind of competition that I like hunting against. I don't want to say, well, there was 100 walker dogs there and I'm the only redbone, because that's not the way I look at it. I look at it as I'm going to that hunt to win that hunt with a redbone. I mean, you got a good walker, you got something everybody's got. You got a good redbone, a plot, blue tick. The blue tick breed's has been coming up, but you got a good off-color dog. You got something nobody has. I mean, and it takes a lot. It takes a lot more either hard-headedness and stubbornness to win with an off-breed dog, or a lot more dedication. And normally it's kind of both. So there's nothing I love hearing more than, man, I got my butt beat by this redbone. I mean, because normally I'm the one around here leading,
Yeah, and you're right. It does take dedication and maybe some hard headedness. But I tell you what, Tyler Duncan interviewed Jason Miller, I think was his name, on Coon Hunting University, and he laid a scenario out that happened with him, and I think that's the reason why the Walker breed's where it's at. Him and Barry Kitty just about come to blows to hear him tell the story on the podcast. And even though they were that mad with each other, his dog come in heat and he was ready to go breed to Barry's, or vice versa, ever how it went. I don't remember exactly how the story went. And I've noticed in some of the other breeds that people are quick to say, well, that one time that guy made me mad, and so I'm not going to deal with him anymore. And maybe not in every aspect of it, but in a lot of aspects of it, I think that's hurt some of the other breeds, and not being open-minded to say, yeah, that guy, I might not like him, but boy, he's packing a hound, and I need some of that in my kennel.
Well, the thing with the redbone guys is that is a major, major problem and issue. And I've had guys ask me, why don't you outcross? Well, for one, me and the guys that's hunted this line of dogs, the outlaw dogs, the moonlight dogs, timber chopper, the old original timber chopper, we work with each other, and my outlook on things is if a dog can't beat mine consistently, why go breed to it? But when G was an actual stud dog and being promoted as a stud dog, you would be surprised at the rumors and this dog, if you looked at him, you would think, man, he's the most laid back dog, best friend you could ever have. I mean, you could, when I was younger, me and we'd start a bonfire in the backyard, and when I was over at his house, and he would go turn G loose just so he would lay around and by the fire while we just talked, and different things, and the dog has had so much hatred throughout his life from the time he was a pup till here, I would say in the last 2 years, if you loved him or hated him, if you hated him, he's gained your respect. You can't knock what he's done as a dog and his heart. I mean, I've put him in some situations that if anybody else put most dogs in, they'd probably quit and not ever be worth a dang. And the redbone breed, the biggest problem is jealousy. You can beat somebody night in and night out anywhere in the country, and they're not going to hardly ever give your dog credit. And it's sad. And now that I have all these females, you would be surprised how many guys that started and has downed this dog that's never done a thing wrong to nobody. How many of them want to be your friends? When you got something they want to breed to, they're going to be your buddy. And I don't mind outcrossing. I am a line. I love line breeding because the outlaw dogs and the timberjack dogs, they have produced over and over and over with us line breeding. But I've got a Grand Night female off of G here, and the redbone breed's lacking a lot. And then it's going to take more than me and a few others to change it. We're going to have to get on board together, or we'll keep being the laughing stock at every major event there is. And she come in heat, and I took her and bred her to Clint Berger's pistol dog. He's a platinum champion. And I've been hunting with a lot of pups off of him, and I was pleased with quite a few of them, And I thought, if I'm going to make an outcross, this one should work. I mean, he comes from 3 or 4 generations that I've hunted with, and I really like, but I've never got to breed to them. And I've hunted with every dog in her, 3 or 4 generations that I like. I said it should mix, but you never know. And that's the thing with the outcross. They're either going to be really good or really bad. And I feel like if the redbone breed open their eyes and work together, the breed's not completely gone. But, 10 years ago, me and Paul Gingrich, Alan Gingrich's brother, were talking about it at Autumn Oaks this weekend. 10 years ago, each bloodline or kennel had 3 or 4 stud dogs to choose from. Now, in 10 years of hatred and drama and blindness, it's you don't have but a handful of stud dogs, period, and that's worth breeding to, in my opinion. And I'm just not going to breed to whatever because one dog out of 3 or 4 generations turned out and it won a big hunt. I breed to what a dog's reproducing, because you're not going to breed to that dog and get that dog. You're going to breed to what he's throwing. And then I look back several generations on what the ancestors behind that dog done and how they operated, and if that's what I want to add to mine. Because when you go to line breeding and breeding them tight, you're going to get the good and the bad traits out of what you're breeding. But if you can handle the good traits more than the bad, you can cull through and get what you want, in my opinion, you know. But yeah, the redbone breed, in my opinion, has went downhill. A lot of the good hard hunters has quit, but I feel like it's coming back because there's a newer generation that has the will to win and prepare to win, and I feel like in the next several years there's going to be some really, really nice young dogs and people that really coon hunt and do the breed right. I feel like that we're going to come up probably and win as much as ever, you know. But we got to work together, because if you don't, as a breed, that's where we've lost that, you know. A good walker, man, they can hate each other's guts, and they'll drive 15 hours to breed the stud dog. A redbone, man, they can hate their next door neighbor's guts with a good redbone and drive 15 hours to breed to a colt, you know.
Yeah, and I think you said it there best, and that's the thing. You know, I don't care if you're hunting a red bone or English or black and tan or a plot or a blue tick or a leopard. You got to work together. Each breed has to come together and work together to make it better. You know, within itself, and that's what the Walker guys done, and the proof's in the pudding. I mean, you can tell it's the breed that's out there. So. But all right, let's you load G in the truck and you headed 14 hours to Ottomokes. Tell us what happened. Hey guys, this is Jason at the Coonhound Collective podcast. I jumped in here real quick to tell you about a raffle that we have going on. We have joined up with our partner CZ Welding and Custom Dog Boxes to raffle off a 24 by 20 by 38 single door top storage dog box. Nathan built a really great quality product. You can go over to the Coonhound Collective Facebook page and see pictures of this dog box. There's also ways that you can pay to get in on this raffle. There's 53 spots at $25 a spot. Now, some of those spots have already been taken up, so don't waste time. Get over there and get you a spot reserved. Now, all this money that we're raising for this dog box is going to Superior Kennel Club. That's who the monies are going through, is Superior Kennel Club, and it's going for their Youth World hunt they're having in December in Alabama. This money is going to allow Superior Kennel Club to pay more spots, first and second place. So go over right now, get you a spot reserved, help promote the future of our sport, the youth. Go over and get your spot today. Thank you.
Well, I had plans on pulling a trailer up, and Lisa and Shane had raised the litter out of a female we bought named Banshee and Chad Cartwright's Chaos dog, and I felt it was going to be a good cross. A friend of mine actually in Tennessee owns a dog, pup, and he has been making some noise. He's 8 months old. He made dual champion before he was 8 months old, and he's actually off of my addiction female. When Shane sold me me and Alan these three females, the three that come was Moonlight Addiction, Moonlight Overdose, and Moonlight Banshee. They're all out of Brianna, which was the top reproducing female that I was telling you about. Well, Shane had bred the Chaos to Addie, which is who I call her, and this pup come about, and man, I got to watching this pup, and I'm thinking, there's no way that this pup's doing this, and so he's super, super nice. And so Lisa, I guess they had bred Banshee to Chaos, which is a 3/4 cross to the broke pup. And I told Lauren, I said, if I buy these 3 females, Shane and Lisa are going to, she had 10 pups. I said, Shane and Lisa are going to have to at least throw 5 of them in. I said, because I'm going to get them into the best hands I can get them into. I don't care what I have to do. He said, well, you really want to get a litter of pups? I said, yeah, let's do it. So as this is going on, I've been trying to buy that book on Hattie's female from Wayne O'Mary for, I guess 6 or 8 months, because she was one of the ones in the breed race that made it so interesting. Because when I took off, she took off, and man, they won a ton with her. You know, she won PKC Redbone days, got in a couple pro classics, and she's not everybody's style of dog, but she's a winner. I mean, there's no doubt about it. You can haul her anywhere, and she is the one that's going to make you shake your head, and then normally she's going to beat you. So in the mix to all this, getting ready for Autumn Oaks, Wayne messages me, but hey, I'll sell you Hattie. And so it caught me off guard because I just bought these 3 from Shane, and it about caused me to be single. She was mad as a hornet when I bought her because I never told her about it, and that was probably my fault. But anyway, so we leave to go. Wheelbarrow goes out on my trailer that I'm going to keep all the pups in because I don't like keeping them on the ground. Well, we get to Alabama, pick Hattie up. Wayne, I guess it's his grandboy, had a bad four-wheeler wreck and was in the hospital, so I didn't get to meet him. I swung by, picked her up, and we got to Autumn Oaks on, I think it was Thursday at about 3 o'clock in the morning. We were absolutely give out. We had been on the road more than 14 hours, you know, and it's hard. You know, we drove, we took turns driving, and it seemed like we was never going to get there. So we got there and got situated. And what makes it easy on G is I haul him in the back seat. Now, I lift my seats up, and we make him a bed. Normally, he'll go to sleep and not wake up till either we get out to take him for a walk or we get to the hotel, and then he'll wake up in time to get back in the room and go back to sleep. And that's just it's rolling through the motions with him nowadays, you know.
Yeah, for sure. So you get him up there and on Thursday morning, and don't sound like to me you had a whole lot of time for any sleep there for yourself to be ready. So how does Thursday? Did you hunt Thursday night?
I did. I hunted in the duels. It's always been I guess you could say it's a traditional thing to hunt them in the duels because they give me heck about him. You know, you got to win your cast before you can show. Well, normally I've got a couple of friends of mine. They always want him to show in the duels. So I'll hunt him in it. And yeah, I was running on about no sleep because somehow I got tricked into driving 99% of the way. And so we get situated and rested up. I hunt in the duels just to kind of let him get his legs stretched. I wanted to go to Labor Day Classic, but man, after the long drive, I said, I'm going to just stay around here and either hunt the duels or go, let him stretch his legs or something, just kind of get him out. Because at this point, he hadn't been hunted like 4 or 5 times maybe between when he had his surgery to now, and he had just been a couch potato. And so I took him and hunted him in the duels, and he looked really good. I drew out with Jeff Young from Michigan and DJ Williams from Michigan, and we hunt together quite a bit. I've never hunted with Jeff, but we've been around each other a lot at the hunts, and it was more or less like a buddy hunt. We enjoyed ourselves, not one argument. Heck, we found each other's coons, and it was just a really good hunt. And G ended up scoring 600, and we ended up walking the last, I think it was 35 minutes out of a 90-minute cast. and he had made a circle tree to himself before that. So it was a pretty action-packed cast, and I didn't really want to wear him out, so it kind of worked out good, you know. And he got beat in the bench show by a younger dog, which, you know, I guess he's showing his age and he's kind of breaking down in his joints and stuff. So I took him back to the room and I didn't touch him. I left him alone and come draw out. We drew out of Bryant, Indiana, and Preston Street was guiding us to Rich. Rich Emery was guiding us, but I drew out with Preston and he was down as a guide. So we man, they have got. I've always had good hunts at Bryant, and I mean, coon population. If you're going to draw out of Autumn Oaks, Bryant and Convoy is probably the two best places you can draw. Convoy is a longer drive, and that's where, you know, Seth and them's from, and they have a lot of coon there. But somehow Bryant, I've drew there a couple times, and I just get put in really good hunting. And luckily, I had Rich Emery guiding, you know, Preston, so we got to go to some really good hunting. And we had I guess in the first 45 minutes, I had two coons treed. It was a real action-packed cast. I had two black dogs in the cast and Preston, and Preston withdrew, I guess, about an hour into it. And so we tree a third coon and we go to move, and we had some problems, which luckily I've kind of been there before. And so I kind of saved myself from getting, you know, too out of hand and trying to do everything to go about the procedures on the right way. And I videoed, you know, kind of what was right and the act. And we had a question arrive, and I questioned it. Hunt's over. I tree another coon right at the end. The other black dog backs me. And at this point, I'm either going to lose the cast by 25 or I'm going to win the cast with 725. And the closest thing to him was going to be 450. Out of the 6 drops we made, he had 6 first trees. So, you know, the second coon, he was by himself on. The rest of them, they were kind of all together. But he had pretty much led the cast the whole night, you know. And so we get in to the Master of Hounds, and I presented the question, and I got overruled. I lost the question, and so I appealed it because I felt in my heart that what was going to be done right was going to be done right. And if I didn't appeal it, I had no chance of it, you know. And I'd had enough, you know, knowledge of the rules that it saved me. And I've been in situations like that before to know how to handle a situation when it goes wrong. And so I appealed it, and I'm not going to lie, I didn't want nobody knowing it, but I was an emotional wreck because this dog, this is one hunt that I'll never miss till the day I die unless some kind of circumstances come up. Even when I'm not hunting, I could always pull him out and go to that hunt. And Autumn Oaks is, if you've never been, it's the absolute, my favorite hunt of any hunt in the world. And I've told everybody that. And so anyway, in my heart, I was an emotional wreck because this is more than likely his last year to compete in this, because I've got, you know, young dogs off of him that's doing really good, and I want to hunt. If I go to Autumn Oaks, I'm gonna hunt a grand night. That's the only way to win it. So I feel like I'm not gonna go waste my time hunting a registered dog or night champion. So I appealed the question. The Master Hound, in his heart, he felt like I was right, but he couldn't do nothing about it, you know. So I appeal it, and we take it to the field reps the next day, and my phone is completely blowing up, you know, because there's only 15 dogs in the top 16 and the one's pending. Well, I present my question, show them the video evidence I have, and the panel ends up going with me, and it gets me in the top 16. And so it was kind of a huge relief that I still have one more chance, you know, to win this hunt. And going into the semifinals,
hold on before you jump in there. Before we hit record here, you kind of told me the details of what's going on, and I don't want to go into all that. But what I want people to hear is, you see on Facebook that competition coon hunting is crooked, that you can't go out and you have an honest hunt. But what you did there was basically you were going to get a loss handed to you by the buddy system, let's say, and you followed the rules that were set out by United Kennel Club to the T. You questioned it. You took it to the master of hounds like you're supposed to. That didn't go the way that it should have went. You filed for an appeal. You went before a panel, and then once all the evidence was laid out, it was overturned. And that's what I want people to hear in this is this was something that was important to you. This hunt was important to you, and it could have went a whole different direction had you not know the rules and not know the procedures, and may even went a different direction if you probably lost your cool and, you know, kind of flew off the handle. But you knew enough about the rules and how to follow procedures to get this, you know, in the right place to have this overturned to get you to that semifinal cast. And I think it's just important to just, I want to take a minute and kind of lay that out there. And, so people can hear, because we hear all the time of, you know, how corrupt and dirty and, you know, whatever competition coon hunting is. And that's the furthest thing that I see from the truth. I mean, you may not you might not know the rules like somebody else, and they may use those rules to their advantage to help them as a handler out. But if you know the rules, first and foremost, you are going to protect yourself in the long run. It ain't going to always protect you, and there's going to be some buddy stuff that goes on here and there. But for the most part, if you know the rules and follow the procedures, it's going to protect you. All right, so go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you don't get me wrong. In any competition, it doesn't matter if it's checkers. There's going to be somebody that does whatever they can to win. And hey, I've been that somebody. I've been that person before, and to me it don't mean as much anymore. Yeah, I love winning. Who don't? But when you know the rules, you can prevent a lot of that from happening. And if you get it done to you one time, you'll never forget what a lot of people call it $30 lessons or whatever lessons whatever kennel club you're hunting, that's what they call it. But if you get it done to you one time, you'll remember down the road the next time. And I will give UKC, Allen, and all those guys a huge applaud. Their rules, it's not built for everybody. There's rules that I don't like, but I can promise you there is not near as many black and white rules in that kennel club as there is any other one. You know, it's pretty cut and dry, and it is on the back of that scorecard or in that rules book exactly the way it's supposed to be. And 90% of the people that run around screaming that they're getting cheated and they're getting this and that done to them, most of it's because they don't sit down and read them rules. You know, you have just as much time of the day as I do to read them rules. And yeah, there's some things that since I've kind of slacked off hunting that I forgot and everything. And it's just like when I peeled that, I laid in that motel room until Lauren was plumb pissed at me because I wouldn't go to sleep. I read front and back of them rules until I read them probably 15 times. That way, when I got in front of those field reps, I knew exactly what numbers I needed to quote, what rules I needed to quote, and everything. And if you don't study them rules, you can't bitch about getting cheated in the hunt, because most of that is from not knowing the rules, you know. And I will say this: my semifinals judge and my finals judge, I couldn't ask for no better. There were some things that I felt like probably didn't go my way in the finals or something like that, that maybe if I could have done this a certain way or that, but it boils down, the better dog won, you know. And Cody Carter, he's been around and he knows, you know, he's a good judge. You're not gonna pull nothing on him. Those kind of judges like that are what makes it fun. I want a strict judge, because if he's strict on me, he's going to be strict on everybody, you know, and a good judge is what makes a good hunt. I mean, a lot of people say, hey, this judge, he ain't good, he ain't a good judge, blah, blah, blah. Well, if he's strict on you, he's going to be strict on everybody. And I cannot complain about how UKC handled their situation and how the judges that they picked for the top 16 and the final cast, man, they were as good a judges as you could ask for. And if you know the rules, you have a lot better hunts than a bunch of people that don't even try to set and read them. You know, they go to these hunts just going to them, and then when a rule comes in place that you have to use, you're the bad guy for using it. You know, they're written on the back of that card for a reason.
Yeah, and I can't tell you the times that I say, "Hey, Judge, you mind if I look at the back of that card for a minute, because I forgot something or whatever." And I can tell you, I've never had a judge say, "No, I don't want you to look at the back of the card." They're always more than willing to turn that card over and let you look at something, and you know, and I try to do that if I'm unsure about, you know, the way something is. So yeah, I just wanted to bring that up to you know, just kind of put some positive stuff out there about competition coon hunting instead of always about cheaters and stuff like that. So go ahead with your semifinal cast, who you drew, and kind of what took place, and then your final.
I drew the country club dog of that Terry Tappy and them on, and you know, Terry, he actually had G at his house for a little while, you know. So we kind of knew, you know, we knew each other. I'd never hunted with country club, but Shane, you know, he told me, he said, "Hey, that dog, I'm telling you, he's a good one." He said, you got a good cast. Well, I've been watching, you know, I drew Trent Livingston and another lady. I forgot where she was from, but she had high scores Friday night, I think it was, you know, to get in the Grand 16. Well, I've been watching Facebook, and we all have. If you're a black and tan guy, you know, I've been watching Trent, this 14-month-old Grand Night he's got. You know, a lot of people laugh about it, but man, I said, that dog's been on a roll. You know, he finished him last weekend, needed 3 wins, I think, and he won the last 3 casts. And I've been watching him on Facebook. I told Shane, I said, man, nobody knows about this pup, I don't guess, you know. I said, but I've been watching him, and man, he is winning every hunt he's put in him with good scores. I knew I had my hands full. And sure enough, you know, me and Country Club, we threw a coon out of the truck together. I had 175, he had 150 on it, and we cut back loose. He got in the beans. The black pup split, I think, once or twice. The little Walker jet split a couple times, and we couldn't find coons, and we pulled them off of a tree together, and we cut them. And I had G-treed over what I call a mountain, most call a hill, around 700. Well, I asked him, you know, can we get top of this hill and listen? And Country Club was trailing back down to the right, and We get up the hill, and there's some tree that sound like they were right there with him. Well, I strike and tree. They tree behind me, and we go in, and he's got another coon, and he had been treed there for probably 15 or 20 minutes. And when they cut them, they shot around the hill where, I don't know if they backed them or what. So we plussed that one and cut back loose, and the black pup trees another coon. And Country Club, he ended up taking a minus, which kind of put him out of it, because that second coon gave me 325, and I think the black pup had 100 off my first coon or something like that. So, and we were all cutting back for 25. So at this point, I just need to keep my mouth shut. I think there was 20 minutes left, and Country, if he trees a coon, it's going to give him 300. Well, he took the minus, and it put him out. The little female was out of it, but she took a whack on our tree, and the black dog, he would have had to treat 2 coons. So I just kind of, kept my mouth shut and just played defense, and that's kind of how the hunt finished. We get to the final cast, and it's Asa Briggs with a super nice English female. Mike Carmack and them, they got in with the Dolly female that won it, and those guys have always been, they've always had winners, and I knew it wasn't going to be an easy hunt. Daryl Workman that hunted her, man, he's a hard hunter, and the fourth dog ended up being the history repeats itself or whatever, and which is a good dog. He's won a lot. I think he's a gold or platinum in PKC, and I've hunted with him, before. A buddy of mine, he's partnered with him, and the Final Four was just going to be, it was going to come down to who struck pretty good and who had coons, and I believe it was going to come down to who didn't make a mistake. We had a bad storm coming in, and right off the bat, the little Dolly female, she struck, I struck, she treed, I treed, and I wanted a big piece of everything, but I didn't want to shoot myself, So we treed that coon, and man, G is he's wore out. I mean, he's hunted 4 rounds in 2 nights, or 3 nights. And so I cut him, and normally he shoots out away from me like a rocket. And I cut him, and he just walks off in front of us. And I'm thinking, man, he's done, And they didn't give it no time, and which, a good judge isn't. He put the 15 on him right off the bat. And I figured if we just stopped, he would just keep walking, and not stop. That's how give out he was. We ended up going to the little English female Aces, and he took off, and he set out a pocket tree for 50, I think it was like 50 minutes. And I was showing Trevor my Garmin the whole time. I said, man, it seemed like every time we'd get 500 from him, we'd end up going 300 or 400 the other way. And Dolly ended up, I guess the English female, she had a coon. Dolly ended up getting treed again and missed the coon, but she had a circle tree. And then the English female got treed again. And at this time, Pete is still trailing. I don't even know where he's at. And so we're going to the English female. She takes a whack. I don't know if I guess she come off the tree or something. And you could hear Pete treed about 800. And I'm thinking, please tree him, because G is right on the other side of him. He said he's 800, and I'm like 7/10. So I should be close, that direction. And so we get to Pete, and I can hear G. We're in a bean field. He's on the other side, and it's pouring down rain. And I can hear him, and I cannot get Cody to come hear him because they're in the middle of scoring a tree. And I kind of like, I wanted to get my advantage in on it like anybody else would have wanted to. And Cody did what was right. He stayed down there because at that point they had said, hey, I got the coon, so he wasn't going to move from the spot that the coon was being showed to him at. And they never did get it to look again. And I could hear G, between the times they weren't squalling and Pete wasn't treeing, I could hear him. And, most people would throw a fit and get crazy about it, but what can you do? You got a non-hunting judge there for a reason. And so he said, as soon as I get through scoring this tree, I'll step right there if I can hear you tree him. Well, I get to looking at the time, and it's 7 minutes on the – I guess there was 4 minutes left in the hunt and 5 minutes left on the shine time. So at this point, if this dog keeps treeing, there's no way I'm going to get him treed in. And sure enough, it worked out in that favor. I didn't get to get him treed in. And, I could have threw a fit and made a big problem out of it, but all it was going to do was make me look like an idiot, So I bit the bullet and I took off after him and got to him and handled him. And I didn't even shine the tree. Most would have told you, he had a coon, but I didn't. I felt we made it that far, and heck, that's a good run for somebody that was unprepared as I was. I should have never made it as far as I did, And so luckily, it was a road probably 3/10 from where he was treed. I got to that, and it was raining so hard I couldn't get my iPhone to open. So I turned. I was just hoping Shane and them was watching the Garmin, and when they come back and I guess everybody left and went back to the hotels or whatever, they got to wondering where I was at and figured, they drove around and got to me. So we got out about daylight, but I was so wore out. We had a 20-minute ride back to the club. I pulled over and told Shane, I said, man, you're going to have to drive. And when I conked out, I was done. I mean, Derek Fox, a good friend of mine, the guy that owns the Broke Pup that I like so much, he actually drove to his hotel and woke me up just to be able to get me up to get to my room. And I never thought I was even going to make the ceremony. Me and G, we were both, we couldn't move. And I'm still trying to recoup from that, but it was a long weekend and we were sure glad to get home.
Yeah, I can only imagine for sure. And, man, to only have a dog out that many times, 4 or 5 times, and go up there and get him in the finals. I mean, I know you got to be happy. I know you got to be happy with your dog, and my hat's off to you as I like I said, you were the talk of Facebook. You might not have come out on top, but you come out on top in a lot of people's eyes this past weekend, and my hat's off to you for sure. And so you go to the award ceremony, you get loaded up, you get back home, and what's the future? What's the future look like? I know you mentioned a few young dogs there, and G's got some age on him, and it might be time for him to lay around the couch and the air conditioner for a while. So what's next?
Well, as soon as we got home, the work began. I've got Cherry, the Grand Night Cherry female that's off of G. She's on 2 pistol pups is what she had lived. I've got the Grand Night Champion Banshee female, Grand Night Champion Overdose and Addie, which are littermate sisters. And then, we bought the Bookham Hattie female. Well, that's 5 females that's in the kennel now that we're having. As soon as I got home, I think Lauren put a death trap on me because she did not realize what we were getting into. And which now, she give them all their flea and tick product, and everything, all their worming stuff for the month, and we clean kennels and just getting back to reality, which is work. But yeah, I'm partnered with Mike Rollins on Freak Shot, and he's coming 4-year-old. We're gonna run him in the world this year, and I'm really concentrating on a pup I call the Revenue Man, that we kept back off of the Moonlight overdose female. Shane sent her down to get bred, and I've really done good with him. I sent him my father-in-law. He kept the pup. He was a runt, and he about died, and he saved him. And this pup, I kind of laughed about it. He's like, well, because he don't know nothing about coon hunting, but he will do anything in the world that if I ask him to do anything, he's there for me and us, and he will absolutely he'll bend over backwards for us. And it's kind of I talked about my partners, earlier, and I've got partners at home. Without them, I couldn't do anything as well, And Robert is my father-in-law. He pretty much got the title to starting the pups now because of Rev. Him and his wife Tiffany, they from the time they're weaned until they're 6 or 7 months old, they spend every day with them. And Robert works from home a lot unless he's on the road traveling. And so it works out, they'll have them house broke, potty trained, lead trained, socialized, everything, and they live on 6 acres, and they'll turn them loose in the mornings. And that's kind of how about Rev come along. He saved him, and he got to turning him loose in the yard. He sent me videos early in the morning of him treating. I'm like, man, this pup has got a ton of talent. 4 months old, he's treating like a grown dog in the backyard. And I caught a coon, and it was real hot summer last summer, and he was probably around 5.5 months old. So I put the coon in the shade in a dump trailer to where he couldn't see it and bark himself out with it being that hot. And they turned him loose in the yard just to let him use the restroom. I said, well, about dark, I'll show him that coon. And that pup, he threw his head in there, and it was just like, boom, he went 100 yards over there, that dump trailer, and goes to treeing on the side of it. And he had never even seen a coon. And it blew my mind. I said, this is unbelievable. I said, this pup has got a huge future. And I don't want to make the prediction right now because he's got a long ways and a lot of winning to do before he catches his daddy. But if something don't happen to this pup, he'll win twice. He should be twice the dog his daddy is. And that's a long shot. But in my eyes, as a breeder, I feel like if you don't get better with every generation, you're not breeding dogs that reproduce. We've been hunting this line of dogs for a long time, and it seems like every year it gets better and better. Everybody talks about G-Man, but there's a lot of young dogs out of him that's winning. There's a lot of his cousins. Every year, it seems like several young dogs out of crosses that are made with this line of dogs pop up. A lot of these guys in the breed, and there is some good breeders in the breed, but there's a lot of these guys that in 1 year, they liable produce 1 or 2 winning dogs that are like phenomenal. And then you don't hear nothing out of that bloodline for 5 or 6 years or so, and then they'll produce 1 or 2 more. But with this line of dogs, it seems like every year that there's several winning redbones out of them. And they might be in Michigan at Jesse's house or my house in Texas, Shane's house in Indiana. Now we got Derek hunting hunting the red bone. Several of these guys has dedicated themselves to pushing these pups, and that's what, in my opinion, is what's gonna move us forward. And I'm trying to concentrate on Rev and pushing him, and I've had a lot of help. You know, we sent him to a friend of mine, Colton Ingram, in Missouri, and he put a lot of hard hunting on him and had him doing really, really good. And he kind of backslid on me, which, you know, I expect that from pups, but I've really concentrated on him, and we finished him the night champion. And there's probably, I'm partnered, I don't even know on how many pups off of G. I know all of my partners, and Alan, he tells me all the time, we got too many, but if I place one in somebody's hands and they're not hunting it, I'll go out of the way to buy it back and give it to somebody that will hunt it. And I've been blessed to be able to put them in good hands that'll do something with them. And I know it costs me money, and Lauren and Alan both sometimes tell me I'm ignorant for it, but I feel like this dog has more than winning to do, and it'll show down the road as a reproducer. It's already actually showing. There's a pup out of him in Indiana, 14. He's a spring 1-year-old. He's already got his money won. There's just been a bunch of pups off of him that's fixing to really hit the circuit. And I feel like Rev is going to be definitely a replacement. There's also one in Canada that I feel that he's off of Rev's mama's litter mate, the Addie female. So it comes with this line of dogs that really, really go, you know, and win. But my future plans will be to push Rev. I've got some other young dogs that I'm partnered on that'll be pushed too. But as far as my main dog, it's going to be this Rev pup, and he's just so much like his daddy. But his hunt style's different, and he's got a lot more tools that needs to be put in the box to become better than his daddy. But he's got a lot of things that his daddy didn't have at that age too. So that's pretty much my plans with Rev. You know, and he's going to be, I feel like next year I'll be hunting him at Autumn Oaks. I just finished him the night champion, and he's a fall 1-year-old, but after the Redbone breed race last year, it burnt me out again. And I took a break, and the pup, if I can get his money won in the next 2 weeks, I'll take him. But if not, he'll be at the fall 2-year-olds for sure. And like I said, if nothing happens to him, but you know how that goes. You take a chance every time you cut him loose. But I feel like he's got a brighter future as anything that I've ever had here at the house.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like you definitely got some irons in the fire there to keep you going, and sound like you got your breeding program going on the right direction there, and got some bright young pups coming along there that's going to do something and give you something to move on forward with in the future. And I know this is hard to believe, but it don't seem like it. My timer says we've been going at this for almost an hour and 45 minutes. And I'm as guilty as anybody to get carried away talking about hounds and the sport that I love. But do you got anything else you wanted to add before we get to the end here?
Man, I just appreciate you wanting to do this podcast, because I've watched a bunch of them, and I've learned a lot from these podcasts, and I feel like if somebody does these other breeds of guys, that people can learn, you know, from them. And I am completely blessed. When you message me wanting to do this, it took me a couple days to kind of think of what I wanted to say, and I hope I've said what I should, and I just kind of let my mind lead me there. And I could not thank you enough for doing this with me, and maybe some of the Redbone guys will enjoy it, and we can move forward as a breed to produce a world champion or to produce a national champion or something along those lines. And I cannot thank my family enough for allowing me and helping me to become a better person, a better houndsman. My grandmother, she's been my number one since I was born. My uncle and aunt, Mikey and Danny, they've helped me with my business, getting my business going to where I could be able to afford and enjoy this stuff that I do. All of my family, people, my friends that I haven't got to mention, it's without all these people that I couldn't be near a successful person that I've been without all these people helping me. And nobody can do this on their own. I don't care who you are, how much money you have, or anything. If you don't have partners and help, even at home, I left to go to Indiana Wednesday, and I left behind 200 chickens, a whole farm, a business, and everything. And if I didn't have these people helping me, I'd have come home to a lost bunch of dead chickens, dead dogs, a business that probably lost a lot of profit that I didn't need to, And I've got guys that work really hard for me and are able to do things for me while I'm gone. And without all the help that I have here, none of this would be possible, period.
Yeah, and I think we've said it before. It definitely takes a village to make this go around for sure. And I know you're appreciative of all those people, and it takes those people to make everything work. But before we close it out, do you got a coon hunting story you could share with us?
Ooh, I got enough of them to last till we could probably set another 3 or 4 hours in here. And, but no, it's been a wild ride, man. The 9 years I've spent with this dog, it's had its ups and downs. It's been phenomenal, and I wouldn't change anything that I've done with this dog. If I could go back, I would probably have pushed him harder as a young, 4 or 5 year old. But I felt like since I didn't, I got to enjoy him later in life, and I can get more out of him now that he's older than what I would have done if I'd have just pushed him till he was, wore slap out at him and in his prime, And so, yeah, we've had a blast.
Yeah, I would say so. That's a long time to have one, have it out there pushing him up and down the road from time to time. And I know y'all have a bond that y'all built together, and I know he means a lot to you. And sounds like he's been a pretty good dog for you for sure. And it sounds like you got some good ones coming. And hey, we may be talking to you again here in the future on a different dog that you got in the super stakes or a world hunt or a national hunt or something. We're going to be paying attention to those redbone dogs out of Texas.
Yes, sir. And like I said, I really appreciate you. And it's not just, it's not just one. If I could win a world hunt with a redbone, I don't care if it's out of my kennel or whoever's kennel, I would hunt it. I've enjoyed hunting the off-colored dogs, but I love a challenge, and winning with a red bone, I can prove to these guys that hunt red bones, go to the hunt, go and prove these dogs can win. And I've taken a lot of guys that couldn't afford hunts and stuff before, and I would pay the entries just so they could hunt the dogs or something, and it ended up turning out to being good friendships, and just different things, just because I want to see a red bone win. I've got a buddy in Indiana, Mike Rollins. We're actually partnered on the shot dog now, and last year all I heard was how these red bones couldn't win, blah blah blah, and he told me, I've got one that can win. I said, well, if you do, I'm gonna book you an entry to Labor Day Classic. I'm gonna pay for it. You keep the money if you win everything. And that's how much I want a red bone to win. And what did he do? He took the entry. I offered it to everybody in the red bone breed that was on our red bone forum on Facebook. He took the entry. I paid the entry. He went and got the dog in the Final Four, and he made a good lick, and I want red bones to win that bad. I didn't make a dime. It's not about the money for me. If I can open that pro hound and see these red bones in there, that makes my day. And I feel like there is a couple of good red bones out there, more than a couple, that if they just had the chance to go, that you would see a lot more of them, and that's where I want to get the breed there. I want to get the breed as a whole to the national level to be able to compete with these guys that don't think a red bone can compete. Because if they have to hunt against some of ours, we're going to make dang sure they can compete and try to push to the top. I mean, yeah, it's sometimes you fail, but I mean, that's, you pick yourself up and go back to just, ground zero and start over until you're successful. And I just hope the breed can get that way again,
Well, it's definitely. I think you're headed in the right direction. You're young and ambitious, and I think you got a kennel full of good dogs, and sound like you got some good partners to help you reach those goals. And I look to see some red bones in some finals and winning some big hunts from your kennel.
Well, as long as I'm alive, that's the plan. And if it ain't out, I'll make sure it is. He's gonna push me till I get off the couch and go.
Yeah. Well, sometimes that's what it takes. Well, we've been at it right at 2 hours, and man, I know this is late at night. Matter of fact, it's after midnight, and I cannot thank you enough for taking the time to be on the podcast with me today and share your story and the story about G-Man and your kennels and how you got started. I think it's a good thing. I think what you're doing for the breed's a good thing, and hopefully some guys will jump on board with you and push in the same direction.
Well, I sure appreciate it, Jason. And if you ever need anything my way, you're just a phone call away now. So,
yeah.
So I wish you the best of luck with your podcast stuff, and it seems like you're doing great things as well. So.
Well, I really appreciate that, and you coming up I-44 through Missouri. I live just south of Springfield, so don't hesitate to text or call me, and if you're up around Branson or Springfield area, and we'll get together if nothing else, and I'll shake your hand, and we'll drink some coffee or something, and maybe turn an old dog loose.
Yes, sir. Well, it was nice talking to you, and I sure appreciate it.
All right, man. You have a good night, and we will talk at you later.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Uh-huh. Thanks, guys, for listening to the Coonhound Collective podcast today. We really appreciate you taking your time out of your day to listen to the podcast. If you don't mind, head over to Facebook and give us a like, and head over to Instagram and give us a follow. It's both at the Coonhound Collective. Also, if you would like to reach us here at the Coonhound Collective, you can reach us at thecoonhoundcollective@gmail.com. If there's someone that you would like to hear on the podcast or a product that you would like to hear talked about, please send it to thecoonhoundcollective@gmail.com. Thanks again. Have a great day.